We are polluting the air and water. Slowly but surely we're destroying nature. We all know there is a problem. What is not always clear is what we can do about this problem. This is the story of my family and what we've tried to do about it. Hi, my name is John Wilson. We're here in downtown Toronto. This is a house that my wife Lee and I bought about 12 years ago, and where we actually started a family. My son Ian was born here about 10 years ago, and my daughter Claire 8 years ago. This is really where the journey begins, and what I'd like to do is take you on that journey with us and show you some of the things that we learned. 12 years ago, our connection to nature was a gravel-covered front and backyard and a nearby park. Then, in 1992, our life changed. First, our son Ian was born, followed 2 years later by our daughter Claire. As I learned more about the destruction of our natural world, I began to worry that one day my kids would ask me what I had tried to do about these problems. So we resolved to do what we could. I began reading about solar panels, renewable energy sources, and natural living. Ultimately, Lee and I decided that we wanted our kids to grow up in a more natural home. The first hurdle was finding the money to build our new home. To do this, we sold our house in the city and moved to the suburbs, effectively cutting our expenses in half. The next hurdle was figuring out how to build a natural home. This is the Toronto Healthy House. This was the house that was a major turning point for Lee and I in our search to create a solar-powered house. We came and toured the house and found some amazing features. First of all, at the lower level you can see the gray panels. Those are solar water heater panels. They take the energy from the sun and bring it into the house and provide heated water to warm the insides of the house. Up above you can see the darker panels are photovoltaic solar panels. These convert sunlight into electricity and provide electrical power to the house, but also are able to transmit the electricity into the general grid around the neighborhood.
We went to see the Healthy House, the Toronto Healthy House, and I think that was the first time that I decided that he wasn't crazy, that this is actually, you could actually do this.
The way we build our houses, you know, with fossil fuels and everything else, they're the vast minority. The rest of the world is living in like totally natural houses. If you take Indonesia, you take many parts of Africa, many parts of South America. It's our Western way, our so-called sophisticated Western way, that is out of step with the rest of the world.
While we were in the process of buying the land, we called Martin, and he was very open to talking to us. We met him for lunch downtown. Then he came up, he said, I want to see the land, and he says, I'd like to take a look and see what there is there for the taking, like what's there for free, the sun, the slope of the land, the trees, whatever is available that's free.
It was sort of, in my mind, sort of the purest form of building a place out in the country, and I hadn't really done anything like that.
We drove up, and it's all treed on the north side, so we drove up and there was nothing but trees, and we walked through the trees and we got to this side, the south side of the trees, and it was warm. And it was just kind of weird, and the sun was there. And this is perfect.
2 years after moving to the suburbs, we had saved enough money to buy a small property on which to build our new home. Another 2 more years of saving money, and we were finally able to start construction in the summer of 2000. we are. It's February 2003. We're at the property where we built our natural home. We're on the north side of the property, right at the driveway that we put through the forest area of the property. The forest does provide an incredible wind block from these cold northerly winds. It's really cold out here. One of the things you'll notice as we walk through the driveway and get to the south side, it's going to warm up incredibly. So this blanket of a forest really protects the house. We've put a large curve in the driveway. You can see it coming around here. And we did that so that the break in the forest would not allow the wind to go right through the house. So we've maintained the forest cover all the way through to the house. We've just come through the driveway and we're now on the south side of the forest. What you can tell already is we've got great sunlight coming through here, which really warms things up. We're looking at the north wall from the inside now. We've got a stucco wall here, but inside the stucco is the straw bales that we were talking about. This is actually called a truth window. When you build with straw bales, typically people leave a little opening to show other people that you've actually got straw inside the walls, because some people, just see a stucco wall and they wouldn't know that there's straw inside. With straw bale, what you do is you take the wire mesh and you put it on each side of the straw bale when you're building it. And then what you do is you actually take long needles and you sew twine through each side of the wire, and that compresses the straw bales together and creates a really strong wall. The straw is an incredible material. It's great to build with, and it provides amazing insulation values.
Basically, those walls are breathing walls, so the air is actually constantly refreshed just because the air changes in the house. So it's not a house that's sealed up. Imagine a glass bottle, put in carpets, put in cleaning, put in all kinds of toxins, and so on, and then seal it up tight, because like a lot of these houses are sealed up very tight. Put a little bit of moisture in a little bit first, because we take baths, and then put this glass bottle on a little bit of heat, and basically we're inside this toxic mix, and we're all sealed up inside. So it's actually not a very healthy way of living. So potentially, of course, there's also conflict with houses that are very energy efficient, so therefore, really sealed up. And at the same time, the need for us to be in clean air. So, having breathing walls actually addresses that kind of desire from both ends. Number one, it's very energy efficient, and it produces very, very clean air.
One of the things that was key in the design of the house was the putting of the windows on the south side to collect the sun's energy. We've got the windows going up 2 levels, which doubles the amount of energy we collect in terms of heat coming into the house. And then just above the windows, you can see the solar panels, the photovoltaic panels that collect sunlight and convert it to electricity. Okay, we're here on the southwest side of the house. We've got a great windy, sunny day. You can see here that the wind turbine is going pretty good. That's generating electricity that we're taking into the house and powering some of the house. Wind turbines are amazing because they go day and night, so they complement the solar panels that we talked about earlier.
So the wind's blowing, the sun's shining, you got these 24-volt generators feeding into a device called an inverter. And what that does is it takes the DC power and it changes it into AC power, 120 volts AC.
So what we have here is up at the top you can see this white cable where the wind turbine's DC current comes into a charge controller, and this then is piped into the inverter to convert it to AC. And then on the other side here we have this red cable. This comes down from the photovoltaic panels on the roof into the inverter system, and again that DC current is converted into AC. And then what happens is we've got 2 different things. We've got the ability to pump it into the grid, into the meter that we saw running backwards earlier. And we've also got the electrical panel here, which is standard in any house. And here we can pipe the electrical energy into our own home if we want it. We're up on the roof of the house. The roof is designed to actually hold about 8 inches of soil. on top of the black membrane that you see here.
It's like, why is the most precious part of an enclosure, like the roof, so exposed to sunlight? It's no wonder that we have to replace a roof almost every 12, 15 years, because the sun actually is very damaging. It produces so much ultraviolet light that it takes the rubber compounds apart in the membrane. So therefore we have to replace the roof. When you actually put vegetation on the roof, you don't have to do that.
The soil will have natural grasses planted in it, and that structure is called a green roof, and that provides a number of benefits to us. One of them is that in the summertime, the soil and grass will actually keep the house much cooler, in fact 30 or 40% cooler.
When the sun hits the vegetation, it actually hits the soil, and then the soil starts to transpire, and it's much like our own skin. When we transpire, we actually we discharge a lot of heat, and therefore cool ourselves down with transpiration. So it's the same thing with the green roof.
Well, in the winter we get the benefit of extra insulation as well, where that soil provides more insulation, which keeps the inside of the house a little bit warmer.
And of course, when you're really into thinking about birds and so on, it actually replaces the soil that you have taken away by actually building the house, and so you could also have a choice on what kind of vegetation you put up there that actually helps birds, and you can put strawberries up there and all kinds of things that birds really like.
The last time I went to Mississauga, I said, "What's that smell? It's hard to, you can't breathe in from your nose in the city because it's so smelly." I like it because, there's lots of open space to run.
Living in this house would be almost kind of replicating the path of the sun. So therefore, all the spaces, without being specific about it, kind of follow that same path. So, waking up in the morning light, having breakfast in a little bit later, so the sun would be up a little bit higher, and then eventually, having lunch, so you would be still with the sun, and then the living room is actually toward the west end, because that's where conceivably you would be toward the end of the day. So we follow that method of thinking, to the letter. Overlaid with that was the idea that all the spaces that you wouldn't spend any time in, let's say a stairwell or storage or the entranceway and that kind of thing, would be toward the north. So they would actually start to shelter the house from the north. So all the principal rooms, the rooms that you'd spend any time in, would be facing the south side, and all the entrances, the washroom, stairways, and so on would be all toward the north.
We're looking at the concrete floor. The concrete floor really is the source of storing all of our heat. What happens is the sunlight comes into the house, hits the floor, the thick concrete structure absorbs that heat and then stores it in the mass. So what happens is overnight or during the day when we need that heat, it slowly is released. So that's our main heating source.
Of course, there are times in winter when we do not have any sunlight. We all know that. It's right around sort of the holiday times and the first part of January. It's cold and dark. So then you say, well, you're going to heat your house with sunlight? Good luck. So what do you do then with those times when you don't get any sunlight? Then, of course, we have an in-floor heating system.
And this is actually our what in a conventional house would be called a furnace. So most furnaces are about this big and burn fossil fuels. What this does is it uses a little bit of electricity to warm up the water, and it pipes that through these pipes into the floors when we need to boost the heat in the house.
And basically what it is, it produces a sort of lukewarm water that actually circulates through piping in the floor.
We're up on the second floor, and I'm actually looking up into the skylight that's in the center of the house. The skylight actually does many things for us. First of all, as you can tell, it lets lots of light into the center area of the house. So we've got lots of light coming into the kitchen so we can see things when we're cooking and so on. And then the light flows through into the dining room and the living room as well.
In the summertime, it allows the the heat that is building up, inevitably building up, to just simply vent out of the windows that are standing open. Cooler air via the basement stair, for instance, comes up. It displaces that air that has just been vented out of the roof. It's being displaced by cool air that comes from the yard on the north side of the house. So basically, it's a natural form of air conditioning, and that's a really major part. And that way of thinking actually comes from Sahara architecture, where you wouldn't believe it, but for centuries people have had air conditioning in the Sahara.
We're up on the second floor looking at one of our windows. These windows are very efficient windows at allowing the light to come through, but then insulating the heat that does get captured in the house. The insulation values are created by a double pane of glass, and then a krypton gas is in between the glass, and the krypton gas increases the ability for the heat to be stored in the house.
And that's what's called passive solar heating. When you talk about active solar heating, then we'll be talking about, say, solar panels, solar hot water panels, and also we're talking about actually electricity. But the most sort of fundamental and where the bulk of the energy management happens is in passive solar heating, and of course it's the less expensive way of doing it as well. So what you need for that is really good windows, basically. So, and now we can get windows that are so, they're so smart, actually, you use the word, that it allows all the daylight to come through these windows. And what happens is when light or sunlight touches a material or touches our skin, it instantly transforms itself to warmth. It becomes infrared, and it becomes heat. And then these windows prevent that heat from escaping again.
We're in the middle of the house. This is where we've put the kitchen area. When we were going to purchase appliances for the kitchen, one of the key things was to find the most efficient appliances we could, because obviously if we're collecting energy from the sun and the wind, there's limited amounts that we can generate. So by choosing efficient appliances, we reduce the amount of panels and turbines we need.
First, conserving energy, saving energy every way you can, because that's the most effective way of managing and managing energy, is to first of all not need it.
People don't understand how much power they really use. We are power hogs here in North America, gobbling it up left, right, and center.
The stovetop is about twice as efficient as your average stovetop. The oven is a convection oven which circulates the heat and again reduces the amount of energy required to cook things in the oven.
There's no massive lifestyle changes required to become much more energy conservative. It's go out there and source fluorescent light bulbs, compact fluorescent ones now that have nice lighting, and get some new appliances. So people need to probably not complain so much about their hydro bills, but do something about it. And it's not difficult to do.
The lighting systems throughout the house are either a low voltage lighting system like the one here above me, and these lights are very efficient. They use very little electricity, but they do generate a great amount of light. The other kind of lighting system that we've used where we haven't used low voltage is fluorescent lights. Fluorescent lights produce all kinds of different light now. They're not just the white light, they're also yellow and orange and so on, a very nice warm light. And we've used those again because they're very efficient, use much less electricity than conventional lights. And also they last much longer, so that where a regular light lasts only a year or two, these will last 10 years.
When we first planted the potatoes, and we thought that after when they grew, we thought that we didn't have any because they were in the ground. So when my mom got some information, and then she started digging, and she found some potatoes. I dug out some of the potatoes. I got some carrots. In the store, I think they put the pollution on them. So.
Okay, we're out at the composting bin here, and what we do is we take all of our vegetable waste and so on that we produce in the kitchen, and we put it into this bin. And what happens is it all breaks down into a natural organic matter that we can then use in our vegetable garden, and it's incredible fertilizer for us. And in fact, what this does is on a week-per-week basis, each week this reduces our garbage to about half a garbage bag full of garbage each week, which is very, very little compared to a lot of other families. Okay, I'm just about 20 feet from the north of the house, and what we're looking at right here is our well, a modern well, where the water is pumped up about 90 feet from the ground underneath us, and then into the house for our drinking water and so on. So obviously with this kind of natural water system, you've got to take great care of how you treat the land. Anything that we put on the land here is going to seep down through the soil and eventually make its way into our well water. So it really connects you to the earth and the water that we use on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I guess for myself, one of the biggest things I've learned is to keep an open mind. You know, you think, well, I can't do that, or I can't adjust to that, and then you do.
It's funny. I always like to think, why is it that we in the West, when we're born, we immediately are plugged in? From the moment we're born until the moment we die, we're plugged in. As where the rest of the world is not that way, right? So how do we relearn that kind of comfort to allow, natural ways to make us comfortable? And it's a learning curve. But it's all out there. It's all been figured out. It's all been done before. We kind of basically relearning all these kinds of methods.
It's growing. It's a growing industry. Our company's growing. Not quickly. Not as quickly as it should be, due to the imbalances in energy funding. Nuclear and oil have incredible amounts of tax money thrown at them for research and whatnot. We don't get a penny.
So, but as our energy cost goes up and our worry about the environment goes up, and we adopt sort of the Kyoto Protocol and so on, then all these things become more and more relevant and become real. I really like to talk in terms of sort of the loop, that it's affordable, it's economical, but also it's better for the environment as well, so that it's like a package that's sort of win-win in so many ways.
We've come a long way towards achieving our dreams. Living naturally gives us hope that our children will have a bright future. We're still learning, and there is lots of work still to be done. The hardest part is taking the first step.
I'm free from what I can't see. Escape was it worth it today? If there